Welcome back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 4, Episode 4. Double
kind of a
fours
lucky
today.
number there. Kind of weird.
Not 15, but we'll go with it. I'm Dante Bullhauer,
Or
Jamie
25.
Bullhauer. Sure. And let's just get right into today. That was probably the best. That was a lucky crack right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we are talking about the role that luck plays in the creative life. Now, I have opinions about this. You have opinions about this. That's why we're here to share them. So I want to hear you set the foundation.
I did.
Set the base.
So obviously, partly because we've gotten to travel a little bit for different stuff and have more. So back in high school, and 25 was my football number. Okay, so that number's lucky. All right. And I'm going to have to paraphrase because I tried to look up or try to find this quote, but my football coach on office window had this poster and, some guy was being tackled or something like that. And this is paraphrasing, says, luck is only being prepared when opportunity comes, or something along those lines. Ironically, I happened to go to the Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, or the College Hall of Fame.
Is it luck is what happens when opportunity meets preparation?
Yeah, maybe that's the. Yeah, so went to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, and they had these interactive things, and they had a couple. Peyton Manning, I think Drew Brees, like some talking. And so you'd touch on the screen, and then they would talk to you. It was kind of cool. And I don't remember who. Man, I'm really good at that part. Anyway, they were talking about how they would practice all these scenarios. So when game time came, and they were talking, that somebody had once told them that they had some lucky wins. I was like, no, we, the 2-minute warning, the last minute shot, the, practicing all those things and knowing the situation so that when you're in it, you can actually, and I think that was actually Peyton Manning talking about being calm, cool, and collected even in a stressful situation because you have practiced it and you know what's happening. And it may seem to the fan, oh my gosh, that was a lucky catch or a lucky throw, when in fact, no, it has been practice. But then sometimes it just seems
Arbitrary.
And there's just moments where you're lucky and something great happens.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of that. When I played basketball in high school, my coach said that same type of stuff. He said, when you go to bed tonight, when you're laying down, just think about all these different scenarios, all these different things that could happen, so that when it comes, at least it's not like a total shell shock. I have no idea what is going on. But I brought this book up before, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Talks about how it's kind of about basically successful people in large part are successful because of these random opportunities, and they're random, like their birthday, or they just so happen to be coming up. Like they talk about who did Microsoft?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yeah. How he just so happened to have access to a library with a computer all hours of the day, and where most people had to go when it closed or whatever. And so how it's basically luck and just the coincidence of opportunity landing on you or someone else that dictates whether you are able to be successful in whatever field. I agree and disagree with that. And we've talked about this. After I read that book, I completely disagreed. And then I started to think about all the stuff that I can't really explain that I prepared for that happened to me that has helped me be successful. For example, growing up in Hastings. If I grew up in Lincoln, maybe I wouldn't be as successful as I am. There'd be a lot more competition. There'd be a lot more whatever. I ended up I have a contract with the NSA to do all their state stuff. The previous creative director didn't get that, and there was no creative director after me at that company. So it kind of fell into my lap I didn't do anything to instill that luck or prepare for that opportunity. But then I can flip it and say, well, I did that contract for 3 years when I didn't have to when I was in high school. So by me proving that I could do it, maybe the NSA was more open to working with me. So I really don't know what I think about luck. I think there's parts of the opportunity and the like prepping for it, and then there's just parts that maybe you can't explain until you're older and wiser and something comes up that kind of helps you get that clarity of why that happened.
Yeah. And so they do, history is 20/20 vision, but yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it's not that we're going to get mystical or anything to a degree, but there is some magic to creativity. There is a little bit of interesting dots that connect. Why do certain videos go viral or things like that, and how you got to a certain point. Now, I think we would both agree on the basis that a part of luck or taking advantage of an opportunity or situation that shows up just kind of interestingly is you got to be ready and you got to be skilled.
I agree.
Because if you're not, then you don't get kind of lucky at it.
It's a make your own luck idea of, if you aren't ready for that opportunity to just fall into your hands, you can't execute on it. You're unlucky, or what. That luck can't even be presented to you if you're not ready to seize the opportunity that luck presented. But
it's and the definition of your success matters too also, but to have moments happen that are a little bit like, that's crazy. The ball bounces. I mean, in athletics, it's always easy to do athletics or things like that because it's a tangible moment we can all, do. In the creative world, it's the influences that a poem has. I happen to, and I've shared this story before through Facebook, somebody who I did not know, his mom bought him the book when he was way in high school, my very first one that I peddled, to play. Did not know that and may not have ever known, but him getting that book led him to his artistic expression and stuff. And again, because of social media, one of the good things, I got to know that story. I may not have ever known that. But for all that to happen, and then I actually, got to go to open mic, type of thing and meet him and do some stuff, but that's crazy. Those kind of luck coincidences, those connected dots are kind of magical, and it factors into especially how you define success, which we have done a podcast, an episode about that exactly. But sometimes it feels like, to a degree, there are forces that can direct and influence your success. And whether you call it lucky or not, I'm unsure. I mentioned Stephen King. Is it lucky that his wife kind of pushed Carrie, kind of got it out of the trash and, or was it, her belief in her husband? Because there was a moment right there. He was going to end up being an English teacher, kind of maybe, or his success later. But at that moment, somebody else has an impact. And is that a little bit of the luck, the role other people have in direction of our creative endeavors?
I think I think life and emotions and understanding all that is so complex. And like the more I get older, the more I realize like how prevalent like the butterfly effect is. Like one little thing.
Yeah, the butterfly effect.
Completely take you on a different path, a different track. But maybe it's just so complex and so hard to just kind of understand that we just throw the blanket of luck over it and say, like, I'm sure if you really wanted to go back and look deeply at every avenue, which obviously is impossible, on why this big decision happened, this lucky circumstance, this lucky opportunity, you would understand why that came to be. You'd understand how you got to that point, how every other factor did. But since obviously it's impossible, it's complicated, it's
huge,
just,
big picture that's hard to see.
I feel like we just call it luck. And I think I mentioned this book too before about free will and how it just kind of not off topic, but like it talks about how all your actions could be predetermined, basically, and how like if it talks about the psychology of like a serial killer and how if you had that same upbringing, same psychological compounds in your brain or whatever, that like you would do the exact same thing that they did. And so it's interesting to say like, oh, that's lucky that didn't happen to them, but it happened to me, when maybe there was no other path in the first place. Maybe that's just what fate or whatever
okay. And
forces.
On an honest note, I deal, especially in the last 5 years, I've dealt with that question a little bit in my creative endeavors of maybe this is just the best. I'm just fated to be a low-level blogger, writer. I'm just saying I'm not on the bestseller list. I'm not winning. So maybe that's just where I am. And that's really hard to actually consider, because I think you do, as a creative, you have to have a little bit, you have to be honest with your skill set and stuff, and know where you're going and what's your strengths and weaknesses, and other things we've talked about, taking risk and stuff. But it's just like, man, for all the writing I have done, and I have written a lot. People wonder how Shakespeare wrote 150 sonnets. Heck, I've got almost thousands of poems. I can see how he wrote 150 sonnets. Not that big of a deal. And it's just like, maybe that's it. Maybe that is the level I will reach, and I shouldn't worry about it anymore, or things. Or there's that, did I just not get the lucky break? The lucky moment, the situation where somebody reads something of mine and goes, oh, I really like this. And then they can set other dots or dominoes in motion.
Well, and what's funny about that is that could be in your future, and the only way you will never know is if you stop.
Right. So if I do... I know,
so it's
but
the endless pursuit of making your own luck.
The endless pursuit of finding your luck. That's creativity. There's our new T-shirt.
But like the more you write, the more you put your stuff out there, the higher chance of a lucky break happening becomes.
So then it's just a statistical situation.
Maybe probability wise, it becomes more likely, but that one, you don't know the increment of probability change that's happening, and two, you could be at 0.05% and then it increased to 0.06, or you could be at 1% and it jumps all the way to 10, or like you just don't know.
Right. So I have a hard question for you.
Okay.
Do you think part of your success is luck?
Yeah.
Why?
Partly because of the stupid book. I wish I wouldn't have read it. Because up to that point, I thought I earned everything.
Oh, still read,
it's
kids.
A good book.
Still
Great
read.
Book.
Still read.
Great book. It got my brain turning constantly. But up to that point, I thought, oh, I've earned all this. Like, it's all me. Well, not all. Like, support system, whatever. The more I look back at, and I still have a very small sample size in the grand scheme of things to kind of look at and determine. I feel successful now, but this isn't where I want to be in 3 years or even next year.
Yeah.
And so, looking at all that's where I struggle with, is it luck or is it just how it was meant to be? Like, I think that me moving out really expedited my business because I started having to pay for stuff.
That's a big wake-up call.
I still to this day don't know if I regret it or not. Because I'm like, how much money would I have in the bank? So I think, like, was that just kind of a lucky thing that I ended up getting that apartment when I did? Because I'd been on the waiting list for, like, months. Was that just a lucky break? The NSA contract was instrumental to my stability-wise and thinking, okay, I can actually do this, and helped me go full-time into my business instead of maybe going to a corporate creative job or hanging on to the jobs that I already had.
But let's for really quick, you have a incredible talent and skill set, though. Okay, your contract with NSAA might have been, but again, there's that point. You would not have gotten that contract if you could not have done. Okay, so again, we both agree that luck, there is a component that you have to have the skill set to take the opportunity, which we kind of talked about at the beginning. But as thinking, because with that book, The Outliers and stuff, you're also creating stuff in a moment in time that nobody else is doing. Now, some people have tried. We've seen some examples, but like your vision and stuff, even, so all those dots came together.
Yeah, just at the right point where I was able to be where I'm at right now. And that's where I even go back to, like, your genetics and mom's genetics played a part in me being able to be here. Like, so if you want to go even back further, whatever, you can do that.
I still remember when you were second grade, third grade, and you were like, if you and mom never met, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
It's like,
my first epiphany ever.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, if you went all the way back, you could probably say there's no other way it would have gone. But then it, like, I don't know the slice of the pie that is luck. I think it's like, I really, really, really want to believe that I work hard for everything that I do.
You do.
And I do work hard. But I feel like there's like 25% of the pie is probably just whatever we want to, if it's luck, if it's just those opportunities. And then I feel that I am very good about seizing, like going out and getting.
Yes, because you have to do that too.
Yes. Even if I'm not quite ready, obviously if it's way out there, I would not take it. But most of the opportunities, you're either ready for them or you can kind of learn on the fly. And if you really want to make the most of it, put in the work to be able to capitalize on it. So I feel like that's a huge part in making more of my luck. But then you go back and you're like, well, part of that is because of the genetic thing or whatever, or how I was raised to go do that stuff, like the things that happened to me throughout like high school growing up that led me to think I got to take these opportunities because they might not count. Like, that's kind of lucky. There's no like concrete reason why that happened. It's just kind of how the cards were dealt that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out and get it instead of I'm just gonna sit and let things come to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
in the creative world, because you get all the stories of the success, people who made it after being rejected. Nobody talks about all the thousands of people who are doing the same thing and don't get the lucky break. And it's in the creative world, it's hard to talk about the idea of luck as compared to something in sports or something where you have a defined moment. As a Minnesota Vikings fan, last year, a lot of people were like, they're a lucky team,
And they talk about it in the quarterback show.
Yeah, but yet they won a lot of games and things, but we kind of forget they practice that stuff. They catch balls.
March Madness, they practice the half quarters.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that idea of being prepared when a situation comes, but yeah, you still just sit there and...
When's the situation coming?
When's the situation's coming? When something fantastic happens, and it's a interesting, deep, thoughtful aspect of how luck, whatever that might actually be defined as and such, influences and helps, if there's good luck, I guess there's bad luck, or, holds you back.
And I think it's important to have that perspective of knowing that, yes, even though we create all our own stuff, there are a portion of this whole creative thing that is out of our control, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take every opportunity that
Good
comes,
point.
You can try and go get it. But at the end of the day, if the right person doesn't see your poem, you can't induce that. And so just being it, and that has honestly been good for me this year because I look at my budget spreadsheet every day, and it's
you're growing up so fast.
It's interesting to look at, like, just so happened that this school hired me at this time and won championship that year, or like the cards fell this way. Looking at, like, just monetarily, I am lucky that my word of mouth references have spread out.
Because you don't do any ads.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not on TV with a commercial or
billboards
or anything.
So, like, to me, a large part of that is kind of luck because it's out of my control whether people say you should hire Dante or whatever.
Yep.
And to just be able to have that perspective with not knowing, like, if I don't have any dates booked or things booked for this, they might not come. But, like, knowing that's out of my control, there's no point in worrying about it because it'll be luck or fate or whatever. And it's been good for helping my stress levels of being like, because before Hawaii I had 8 seniors and I'm up to like 42 or something. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I had 30 last year. Like, I only have 8. What am I doing? And just being like, okay, yeah, they'll come. And now for the next 17 days, I'm booked with a senior every night.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, and going back a little bit, because you got to do a really interesting senior shoot with a swimmer. And we had already talked about that, the technology and doing. And so investing in your skill set sets up. I mean, I bet you when people saw the swimming like that, it was like, oh, like he could do that?
yeah.
Here's the skill set and whatever opportunities and stuff that might, come. But yeah, you don't know who is going to see that, who might have influence in your field. And that's kind of where, to a degree for any creative, a little bit of their success is that somebody in their field had some influence and generated what we might deem a lucky break or a lucky opportunity.
And as creatives, a large part of being successful is a large part of any success is connections, really.
Yeah.
But just getting it in front of the right eyes. Like, those swim photos they'll still be cool, but they won't mean as much to someone that doesn't swim as they do other swimmers. They won't lead to, like, a basketball player won't hire me for those just after watching those swim photos versus another swimmer. That I would say that is just kind of a lucky thing if a swimmer sees that and they're like, oh, now I'm going to book that. That's nothing I can control.
Yep.
But by putting it out there, you increase the probability of that luck happening.
The 0.5 to 0.7.
Yeah, now I'm at 0.07 probability.
Oh, all right.
I hope you guys feel pretty lucky to have us on Season 4, Episode 4 of The Creative Moment. We've come a long way since the days back at downtown talking about our definition of creativity, and we don't plan on stopping. So, hope you guys enjoyed. YouTube, Spotify, whatever you guys are watching / listening on, like, follow, comment on the podcast. Let us know your thoughts. We'll link our socials down below. Follow us. We post every episode. So, yeah, that was The Creative Moment, Season 4, Episode 4. See you guys in a couple weeks.